All right, here we go. So as you can tell, we have a very wet and rainy day here at the homestead. So fantastic opportunity at this point in time to be able to show off some of the lights that are on this cargo trailer conversion, because it's not pitch black, so we're able to see the lighting and of course also be able to see the trailer. So I'm really excited to present this to you. So if you're not familiar, this is going to be our 7x14 cargo trailer conversion. It's a 2021 Interstate Load Runner. We have tons of miles on this thing, tons of usage on boondocking trips, campground trips. I mean, it's just basically a hotel on wheels. Love this setup. We do have a video that's currently out that showcases the awning that's off the back and goes over the patio deck a little bit. We'll go over the lights a little bit on the inside while we have the patio deployed. So up on the top corner here, we do have some LED lights that are up there, and that's really nice for at nighttime when you're sleeping. And we could turn them on red, lowest setting possible, just enough light to be able to see the bathroom in the front. So if you need to use the facilities in the middle of the night, you can make your way through. And of course, light up the cabin just enough to be able to see, but not disrupt your sleeping. So fantastic setup with the LED strips up on the top up there. We'll get into more details as soon as we do an interior video on this, but for now, at least you can see what the lighting looks like. And then of course we have the interior cabin lights. So that's going to be the puck style lights that are flush mounted to the ceiling. Drill out a hole, they're spring loaded into place, and we'll have another video that goes on the details of that. But as far as the lighting goes, this is the warm white. Obviously, as you can tell, it is lit up really nice on the interior there. So those ceiling flush mount lights paired along with the LED strip on the side there, which is, you can change the colors on that. Those are RGB LED strips, but just obviously lit up very, very well. On the exterior here, on our awning video, I think we did mention that we do have an LED light strip underneath the awning. So we have the rain gutter that's factory installed. We just installed the LED strip straight up to the rain gutter there. So it's flush mounted to that. You can kind of see it right there. So just cheap stuff. I mean, I think this was like 15 bucks for this LED strip. It's held up really well. We do have a dimmer switch that's installed right here. So of course we can change the brightness of there, and of course be able to turn it off as well. Just a nice little piece of accent lighting, especially at nighttime. You know, when you're at the campground, we like to turn that down as low as it can go. It lights up the wall of the trailer pretty well, you know, the back door pretty well, and just enough light to be able to see either the patio or be able to see the ground. So we'll close up this patio deck and we'll show what that looks like here. As you can see, with the patio door closed, you can see the LED strip up there is lighting everything up. It does look a little bit brighter because you do have the aluminum trim that goes on the sides and up on the top there. So it does look a little bit brighter than what it really is in person due to the reflection, but that's full brightness. So if you turn that down on the lowest setting, you can only imagine that this whole area out here is just barely lit up. So it's not going to disrupt your nearby campers, and it gives you just enough light to be able to see. So if you are out here working off the back end, you'll be able to actually see at nighttime, and just love that feature. So on the next trailer that we're doing, want to incorporate that, just a nice little accent piece, you know, very budget friendly, but we also want to do red. So at nighttime, I think with having just a red strip up there, I want to have them separate, so that way the red strip is hooked up to the brake lights. And then of course we have warm white that's hooked up to, you know, party lights basically. But the red LED strip off the back here, I think would just accent this very, very well as you're driving down the road. We, you know, do a lot of nighttime driving to get to where we're going. And I think just having a little bit of red up there to complement the tail lights and then the underbody lights would just really stand out. And of course, hopefully nobody rear ends me, because I don't want to build it a second time. I want to build it once, enjoy it, and not wreck it. All right, well, let's go ahead and we'll talk about the light switches off the back corner here. These switches are actually really nice. We do have a template that's available. So if you want to purchase that template, by all means, it's perfect. That way you can get a perfect alignment. You get perfect spacing, you get perfectly straight line. Makes installing these switches, which are readily available on Amazon, super, super easy. So those switches on the exterior are going to be hooked up to the corner lights down here. So we have one right there. We also have another one on the front corner right here. They're on the opposite side of the trailer, of course. And then we're also hooked up to the rear. So we have a light head there, light bar there, and a light head there. This is all professional grade emergency lighting. So this is going to be a lot more than just your typical $25 option on Amazon. The light heads on the corner, I believe those are about $60 a piece. These corner lights on both ends right here, the flat bars, those are about $90 a piece. And then your light bar on the back here is going to be, I think, $250 or $280. So it's definitely not cheap. You know, I try to stay budget friendly, but certain things I believe in spending for additional quality. I highly recommend on lighting, especially for the exterior, to spend a little bit more to get a little bit more durability, better heat management, and just better all light output. So, you know, you got to pick and choose your battles at that point. But with these guys, these are dual color. So the way that we have this set up, we have our white lights and then we have our amber lights. So like I said, all these light heads are going to be dual color. So let's go ahead and turn on the corners. So as you can see, I have the bottom light switch hooked up to all four corners. So you can imagine at nighttime, having the amber lit up like that just makes the campground glow. It just looks really, really cool when you need a lot of additional lighting. And it's a low profile light. It sits low to the ground, so it's very, you know, it covers the ground, kind of keeps everything up top a little bit darker. And we find that the lower the light or the more indirect, just the nicer the experience is. If we turn on the back bar, as you can see there, so of course we have the lights turned on in the back. That is fantastic for whenever you're lighting up the rear of the camper. So at nighttime at the campground, you're trying to light up everything behind you, especially boondocking. You could only imagine if you're out boondocking, having lights all the way around your camper is amazing. It's just something that once you start using it, especially out in the middle of nowhere when there's nobody around for miles, you'll really appreciate as much lighting as you can get. So, like I said, they're dual color. So we'll go ahead and turn those off, and then we'll go ahead and turn on the corner. So like I said, amber and white. So the way I have these hooked up is typically we'll use the white light, and that's going to be for when we're backing up. So if we're going to a campground, we know that we're going to be arriving at nighttime. I'll flip a switch. We actually have a switch on the front of the tongue right there. I'm going to go over that in a little bit. So we can actually flip that switch on. So when the truck goes into reverse, the white lights turn on with the truck going into reverse. So when you're backing into a campground or a campsite, you'll be able to see everything all the way around you. Let's go ahead and we'll turn on the back. So there you go. Again, just having that lighting when you're pulling up to a campsite, being able to see everything at nighttime is so much easier to back up. I'll go ahead and turn off the back. They are bright.
So as you can see, obviously when you're driving at nighttime, it just really lights everything up with all those lights. So you can see why backing into a campsite in the middle of the night is a lot easier.
Really a nice feature to have. As far as having the light switches on the exterior, I kind of tossed those. I didn't know if I wanted to have these on the inside or if I wanted to have them on the outside. Obviously, we've been rolling with it on the outside. Hasn't really been an issue, and I think for the most part, the reason for that is simply because when we're at camp, if we're outside, we obviously want to be able to see the grounds. I think there's only a couple times when we're being stalked by a mountain lion. We wanted to have all these lights on, so of course, came outside, turned all the lights on, just had a nice little perimeter, but for the most part, 9 times out of 10, it's just nice to be able to have the lights there and accessible from the exterior, because once you go inside the camper, we really found that we just don't want them to be turned on. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, is if you have them on the exterior versus the interior. Our next build, we're actually going to break them down. So one thing that I really wish I would have done when I was installing those is zoned them off. So I did zone them to where all 4 corners versus the rear. I wish I would have done zone 1 on the camp side, zone 2 on the driver's side, zone 3 for the rear. And the reason for that is, if you're at a campground of some sort of capacity where you have a neighbor that's right there next to you, these are pretty bright, but you don't want to flood them either. You don't want to disrupt their experience. So a lot of times, if we're at a campground, I won't turn these on at all, except to clean up the mess or clean up something or try to locate something. But typically, if we're at a campground and we have neighbors next to us, I don't use them simply because they're so bright that I just don't want to disrupt anybody that's next to us. So in the future, for our next build, these are going to be broken out to where it's just a light switch for this side, light switch for the other side, and a light switch for the back. If we do the dual color again, of course, that would turn it from 4 switches into 6. All right, and then the last part, party tricks. So because these are dual color and they're emergency grade lighting, if you apply power to both inputs on the lights, then you get a nice strobe pattern. You can program, of course, the strobe pattern that you want, and that's really only good. So I'll use this feature if I am somewhere where I need to back up and I can't see traffic. I've used this a handful of times, but it's really just more of a, if I am somewhere where I can't see traffic and I'm backing out blind, I want people to be able to see the trailer. This is not planned. This is not how I envisioned this whole setup to be. It just happened to work out as a benefit. And, you know, I don't know if it really works or not, but I believe it does. Because like I said, I've used it a few times just to add a little bit more visibility, because if I'm backing out and, you know, I can't see cross traffic, I want them to be able to see me. So that is a pretty nice feature. So by default, in case I find myself in that type of situation, I will flip the switch on the front of the tongue during the daytime, activate the lights, and then that way, whenever I go into reverse, all these lights automatically turn on and turn on the strobe function for me. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll talk about the switch on the tongue here. So this is going to be a 3-way switch. So we have 2 power inputs and then off. So this switch right here, it's got a rubber seal, sealed from the elements pretty good. The house battery is actually inside this tongue box. And so naturally I have the power, of course, going right there. And then I also have the power tapped into for the, well, it's actually in the trailer plug, which is mounted. Nice little mount right there. So it's tapped into the center plug of the 7-pin off the trailer. So that way, when the truck goes into reverse, it sends power via that center plug. That power goes into one of the ports on the light switch, and that's how we get power to the light heads and those switches in the back. So you're basically just swapping out power sources. So right now, it's in the up position. So it's actually pulling power off of the battery that's inside the toolbox right here. Flip that off and you can see that those turned off. So now, even though the lights are off, If we did apply power to the center pin of the 7 pin plug that plugs into the truck, and we put the truck in reverse, those lights would then turn on. All right, so now that we went over the switch, let's go over the rock lights on the bottom. The way this trailer was configured when I first built it out is essentially I had the same light strip, the LED light strip that we have on the back here, which is water rated, weather rated. 16.5 foot is what those spools come in. They're like 15, 18 bucks, something like that. And I actually had that ran, so it plugged into a power source in the front underneath the trailer right here. And that whole strand ran down the side of the trailer. And then the power, the switch for the inside was actually on the inside of the trailer here. So we'll go ahead and show what that looked like. Which would be this guy. So independent power switch, dim capable, and it was just it was a really nice feature that we had. Ran with that for a little over 2.5 years, maybe 3 years. I just recently got the rock lights. So the LED strip was really nice. I've had to replace it a few times because when we go down, like I said, we do boondocking. So we go down some really, really rough roads. And so the suspension on there meets up exactly where the frame is at on the outside of the trailer here. So that LED strip would start at the top and work its way all the way to the back. And it would ride the frame. And then with the suspension components, these guys would go so far up, they would actually hit the frame and pinch the LED strip. And actually, I think you can see, yep, got part of that LED strip right there that's broken off. So after a few times, I was like, obviously that's not going to work. We just go out way too deep. So we got to try something new. So my only solution to that was to add aluminum channel that's offset in just a little bit, and then it just runs down the beams and it goes all the way down. No worries about any suspension components hitting it, pinching it, whatever. A lot better protected. So I did float that idea. However, we knew that we were going to get a new trailer. So being that we were going to get a new trailer, I did not want to invest all that time and effort because I wanted to test out the rock lighting, which is what you see right here. So the rock lighting is basically LED pods. And on this particular setup, we have, I want to say this is 8 pods. That sounds right, 8 pods. So we have 4 on each side. And of course, just like the LED strips, you can get those to where they come on to multiple colors. Most of them have an app, so you can fine tune the color that you want. Some great features. This one's got dual zone. So you can turn this side on. I set it up to where I could turn this side on one color, turn the other side on to a different color. But I wanted to test, will the rock lights, for one, look better, give better distribution of light, easier to install, and overall just a better experience. I've come to find out that I've kind of torn because when I put these in here to test them out to see which direction I want to go with the new trailer, I think I'm going to stick with the LED strips because you get a lot more even light output all the way down. So in this particular case, I have 8 pods, 4 on each side, and there's a dead spot right here. Obviously, you could fix that by adding a larger kit, so you can get 10 light heads instead of 8, fill up that gap, but you're still left with basically bright spots. You can see a bright spot there, another bright spot, and another bright spot. Looks a little worse on camera than it does in person, but it's still noticeable. So my experience, and for our next trailer, we're just gonna have aluminum channel that goes all the way down, and then we're just going to put LED light strips inside that aluminum channel. That way we get a nice even flow. We can have them on multiple switches, multiple controls. That way we can have zone lighting. We can control the brightness and the color, and it'll just look a lot better. So for our next build, for what we're going to do, like I said, 2 strips going long ways, and I think I'm going to do a short strip going across the back. And so we'll have 3 zones of underbody lighting. So Nothing against the rock lights. They are a little bit more expensive, and install I think is a little bit easier, so there's the trade-off. But as far as the light output goes, I think the LED strips in the aluminum channel is going to be a lot better. All right, let's go ahead and we'll talk about the most common light that you're going to find on pretty much any travel trailer, and that's going to be the light head up on the top right there. So when I built this trailer out, originally all we had was the LED strip that went down across the bottom. Did that for a handful of trips, I want to say half a year or so, and then eventually we ended up getting that light head installed right there next to the door, and I think we put the LED strip underneath the awning when we got the awning, and that worked out pretty well. Eventually came the light heads on the corners, but after using it now for a lot of trips and a lot of time on the road, find that this light up at the top, we don't use it as much as we thought we would. Obviously, if you don't have the lower lighting or the underbody lighting, you're going to use that light a lot more. But I highly recommend trying out some indirect low lighting because you'll find that most likely you're not going to use that light nearly as much. It's just bright. It's great when you're boondocking, but even when you're boondocking, you're the only one out there in the middle of nowhere, it's still really bright, and I think it just kind of takes away from the whole vibe at nighttime, especially when you got the campfire going. However, it's definitely something you want to have on your trailer, because when you're cooking, having that light up above and up high shines down on your griddle, on your grill, whatever it may be, and that's a valuable light to have. So for that type of light, I would say that would be a great cooking light. So, take it for what it is. That's our personal experience. We'll just go ahead and we'll go turn it on. So for this one, because this was an afterthought, because originally I probably would have a light switch for it, but now we just have a really nice USA made switch. I'll turn it on to one of the lower settings here so we don't flood the camera. So just a nice warm white. Comes in a little bit warmer on the camera than it is in person, but that's something to keep in mind. Originally we did, I want to say 6,000 Kelvin LED lighting on the cab, the interior of the cargo trailer. And that was just like, it was very sterile and very bright. So I knew when I wanted to do exterior lighting for this guy right here by the door, I wanted something a little bit warmer white. It's on the camera, it comes out almost orange like these guys do, but it's a lot more white in person. But I think that's around 4,000 Kelvin, 3,500 Kelvin. It's still a nice white light with just a little bit of a warm tint to it. And of course it just lights up everything out here very well. Put it on the dimmer switch, it's just even better. But like I said, take it for what you want. For us, we enjoy having it, especially when we're cooking or we need additional scene lighting to be able to see objects from the top down that the side lights or the underbody light can't light up. It's fantastic for that. So still happy with that. I think I got that light from superbrightleds.com. That's kind of ringing a bell in my head, but I'll try to put a product link in there. Actually, we do have a build sheet. So rolling into that, we do have an Excel build sheet. It's completely free. It's a nice free resource for anybody that's looking to build out a cargo trailer conversion. That spreadsheet has common products typically used on van builds, cargo trailer conversions, and we'll put that link in that spreadsheet for you. All right, two more things. One of them is not going to be installed, but you can see it in the background here. So Edison bulbs. So you can see we have a bunch of Edison bulbs around the building and across the yard. We also have some Edison bulbs hanging up there. Those are your standard Edison bulbs. We got those from Costco. So I think they're $40 for a 50-foot set. So when we're at camp and we're boondocking, because I do have my Power Boost, which is right over there, that Power Boost has a built-in 7.2 kilowatt generator. Silent power. It's fantastic because we have more than enough power than we'll ever need for a cargo trailer build. But I do have a strand of Edison bulbs, and they live in the tongue of the trailer. So when we are out boondocking, we will set those up so then we could have nice ambient lighting. So we'll go ahead and kind of give you a sneak peek of just kind of what we're talking about here. So we'll go ahead and turn off our lighting. So just a nice warm white, just a nice soft light. It's just an extension cord with LED plastic bulbs. Very durable, lasts a long time. I actually have sets that are about 5 years old and they're still going. I mean, it's really impressive with those. So on the trailer here, I have multiple tie-off points, which I'll go off on some other videos here. But you can kind of see right here. So I have a lot of these guys mounted all around the trailer, especially on the top line up there. And carabiners, a little bit of paracord loops that we got made up. And we're able to basically attach the Edison bulbs as we need and string them off the trailer and maybe string them off onto a tree, or maybe wrap it around the trailer, just something. But just a really great option right there. So if you have the power and you have the means to power it, highly recommend those Edison light bulbs because those really just help light up the campsite all the way around. And the last one, this probably falls into more of the flashlights, but from Nightcore we got these LED lanterns. They're rechargeable via USB-C. They're very durable. They're LED. They have warm white. Hit the button, you do bright white, hit it again, it'll do both of them, bright white and warm white. And if you hit it one more time, it'll do SOS in red. So for I think 20 or 25 bucks, it is also dimmable. It's just a really good light to have around. So you've seen in this video, I've actually had 2 of these out here. Got one on our sideboard table, and I put the other one on the tongue of the trailer right there. So just for 25 bucks, a nice small little profile. It's just a really nice little light to have. Give it to the kids, run around the campsite. It gives you just enough light to be able to light things up.